The Legend of Zelda has transformed into one of Nintendo's most respected franchises. When Travel Channel's Man v. Part of what has propelled it to popularity is its variation on common adventure tropes and strong world building. Food debuted in 2008, it soon established itself as a popular guilty TV pleasure. The show's concept of a relatable everyman touring the U.S. in search of impressive food offerings and madcap eating challenges was enticing in itself, but the affable charisma of host Adam Richman truly tied everything together. The sight of Richman desperately digging into his eating feats, like downing an absurd pile of ghost pepper-infused fat and carbs, was a marvel to behold, and his genuine enthusiasm made it easy to believe he wasn't just in it for just the paycheck. The series has some of the most passionate fans in gaming, but there is also a plethora of lore and mythology for any history buff to dive into. Zelda mythology is filled with stories of destruction and rebirth, horrifying monsters, and all-powerful deities. Additionally, many aspects of mythology within the Zelda series mirror legends from various real-world cultures. Clearly, the man loved food. The thing is, when you spend 4 seasons digging into massive amounts of greasy, spicy food, the abyss eventually starts staring back. For example, though there are different versions of him throughout the games, Link is often a hero chosen by the gods and then tested. As such, when Richman left the show in 2012, he was a different man than he was before embarking on his 4-year on-camera eating binge, and not just because he had gotten famous. From health and body image issues to enduring criticism from his idols, let's take a look at some of the ways Man v. Food changed Adam Richman. Adam Richman had to train to become a big eater for Man v. Food. These days, Adam Richman can sometimes be found listed among the ranks of legendary professional eating champions, but as he mentioned on the show, he hosted Man v. Food as a regular guy with zero background in the world of competitive eating. Stories of Link's divine selection echo elements of tales from Greek mythology where mortals achieved god-like status for their various deeds. But Link himself is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Zelda mythos. The following legends, figures, and creatures add to the greater knowledge of the Zelda universe. Although the games have been published out of chronological order, The Legend of Zelda's scattered timeline and the wealth of details presented in the companion book Hyrule Historia showcase intriguing tales that enhance the franchise. But beware, significant spoilers for the series lie ahead. The Golden Goddesses and the creation of the world. The story of the world's creation first appeared in the A Link to the Past manual, but was more fully explored in an Ocarina of Time cutscene. During a time of chaos, 3 golden goddesses descended from above to establish the land of Hyrule and its surrounding areas. Din, the goddess of power, created the land. Farore, the goddess of courage, created the world's inhabitants. And Nayru, the goddess of wisdom, created law and order. The 3 deities then departed the world, leaving behind the Triforce, a powerful, wish-granting relic. Imagery of the Triforce is seen across multiple games in the Zelda series, and places of worship for the Golden Goddesses exist in titles that feature a more established Hyrule. While the Golden Goddesses haven't played much of a part in the franchise beyond creating the world, characters with their names exist. In the Dual Oracle games on Game Boy Color, Din, Farore, and Nayru appear as oracles. The oracles in Greek mythology were usually mediums that spoke for the gods. Zelda's oracles have god-like powers needed to keep the world in balance. Hylia and Demise. Although the Golden Goddesses left an incredibly powerful item behind, they entrusted it with someone capable. This was by design, because while it's mesmerizing to witness eating legend Joey Chestnut demolish a 5-pound burritozilla in the San Jose, California episode of Season 1, watching Richman try and fail to tackle a 7-pound breakfast burrito in the very next episode is arguably far more entertaining. As the Daily Meal tells us, Richman was a Yale-educated actor and a sushi chef before he got the Man v. Food gig. In 2011, he told Hebe that the auditioning process for the show didn't even involve any difficult eating challenges. While this means he had to develop methods to prepare for his gluttonous triumphs after getting the job, anyone who's watched Man v. According to Hyrule Historia, the goddess Hylia kept the Triforce safe as the world established itself. Food can attest that Richman certainly succeeded. By the time of his Hebe interview, Richman was a seasoned veteran whose challenge preparation routines sounded like that of a pro athlete doing warm-ups. He revealed these surprising tricks to get his body going before the big moment. It was always lots of exercise, like leg and back workouts in particular. They're your biggest muscle group, so they activate your metabolism quite a bit. And then I would do interval sprints on the treadmill or jump rope. Adam Richman got into fasting to survive Man v. Food challenges. As Adam Richman told 411 Mania, he preferred to view Man v. Food challenges as a good time and an enjoyable communal experience rather than a brutal battle against a giant meal. Still, the eating challenges remained a gigantic hurdle for Richman, and in order to survive them, there was a trick he tried to use whenever possible: fasting. Richman preferred to enter a challenge well hydrated, with no food in his stomach and with an extensive workout under him to combat the caloric avalanche, he told 411 Mania. By keeping his diet and health on point, he also stood a chance to feel significantly better after challenges. A shining example of successful preparation was the Big Texan 72-ounce steak challenge, during which Richman devoured the giant slab of beef in under half an hour, despite that it was only his first year on the job. On the other hand, if Richman's fasting failed, he was immediately in a much worse situation, reported 411 Mania. But with the Triforce's existence came those who would seek it for their own gain. Demise, a mighty demon king, was one such villain. He led an army of monsters against Hylia and was nearly successful in obtaining the Triforce. Following a great battle, Hylia managed to seal Demise away, albeit weakly. The simple fact is that if I eat it all the day before I have a major obstacle going against me when it comes to the big challenges, Richman said. Adam Richman had to get in shape even before shooting Man v. Knowing that the seal would one day break, she devised a plan to stop him for good. Food. It's easy to think that big eating is a big man's game, and that a huge appetite is a far more important factor than decent physical conditioning. First, she sent a plot of land housing some surviving humans and the Triforce into the sky and formed a cloud barrier to keep them safe. As a goddess can't use the Triforce, she then renounced her divinity so she would be reborn as a mortal. As revealed in a scene in Skyward Sword, Zelda was that mortal. While there are plenty of mythological tales of gods living among humans, it's usually a matter of disguising themselves rather than giving up their divinity and transferring their soul to a mortal vessel. The Song of the Hero and Demise's curse. In the events that set up Skyward Sword, the first chronological game in the series, Hylia didn't just send the surviving humans to safety. She created a series of tests that a chosen hero would have to complete in order to find the Triforce. Such a hero would be chosen by Phi, a spirit that Hylia created and implanted in her own sword. There were 4 powerful beings that Hylia entrusted with a part of her plan. Each one held 1/4 of a song that would lead the hero to the Triforce. Then again, a look at the lean and ultra-fit competitive eating legend Takeru Kobayashi indicates that when the portions get super-duper sized, quite the opposite can be true. While answering fan questions for the ESPN website, Adam Richman made clear that he was well aware of the benefits of being as healthy as possible before he started shooting Man v. Food. The first being was Levias, a sky spirit that resembles a whale that Hylia tasked with guarding the sky. So, before the cameras started rolling and the mega dishes started coming, he took steps to make sure his physical condition was par for the course. The other 3 were dragons, each of whom hid on the surface waiting for the hero to find them. When I started the show before the first episode was filmed, I went to specialists ahead of time because I wanted to start with a baseline of good health, versus correcting bad health down the road, he revealed. Adam Richman doesn't like oysters anymore thanks to this Man v. Interestingly enough, the names of these dragon spirits are derived from the 3 golden goddesses, Eldin, Farron, and Lanayru. Skyward Sword also ended with a cycle of rebirth. Food challenge. When you host a show like Man v. Food, it's only natural that at some point, you might reach a stage where you simply can't stomach a certain food anymore, even if you used to find it delicious. Upon Demise's defeat, he cursed the descendants of Zelda and Link with his unending hatred. As Adam Richman told The Mirror in 2015, this exact thing happened to him with oysters. After the Oyster Challenge in New Orleans, which was over half a decade ago, I think I may have had less than a dozen since, he said. This set up the entirety of the franchise, which has played out with different versions of the same characters. The Sacred Realm and the Dark World. The Sacred Realm is an alternate dimension that houses the Triforce. It was created when the goddesses left Hyrule, and its existence would eventually bring chaos back to the kingdom. Following Skyward Sword, humans returned to the surface world and founded Hyrule, named for their goddess. After a time of peace, battles broke out between those looking for the Triforce. Roru, the Sage of Light seen in Ocarina of Time, constructed the Temple of Time to house the only entrance to the sacred realm and sealed it shut. It just turned me off. The man v. He then gave 3 sacred stones that serve as keys to some of the surrounding races to keep them safe, while the titular ocarina, which opens the door of time, was passed down between members of the royal family. Despite being created by the goddesses, the sacred realm isn't infallible. Food Challenge Richman is referring to as his 2009 visit to the Acme Oyster House, where he was tasked with joining the restaurant's 15 dozen club, by wolfing down the requisite 180 oysters. Man managed to beat food that time, but the experience of 15 dozen mollusks passing through his gullet was evidently more than enough to scare even a battle-hardened food aficionado like Richman away from future oyster feasts. Adam Richman learned to talk with his mouth full for Man v. Hyrule Historia states that the Dark World seen in A Link to the Past, which is chronologically after Ocarina of Time, is the same sacred realm, twisted by Ganon's malevolence following his banishment. The Picori legend after Hyrule was established and Roru hid the Triforce away, the kingdom was once again cast into shadow by evil beings. Food. The fact that half-masticated bits of burger didn't keep falling out of Adam Richman's mouth every time he opened it during Man v. Food eating challenges is proof that the man is quite adept at combining his 2 widely known talents, eating and talking. Knowing how to speak with food in your mouth is an extremely strange and specific thing to master in a world where not talking with your mouth full is the go-to move in most social situations. However, Richman's role as Man v. At this time, a Picori, a member of a race of Minish beings, descended from above, bringing a sword and a golden light. The hero of men then used the sword to seal away the dark beings in a chest and bring peace to Hyrule. Food host featured so much eating and speaking in front of the camera that at times the two were bound to intertwine, but as the man himself stated on Eat with Mikey, no one really teaches you to eat on camera. Fortunately, the world now has an expert. In an interview with the Chicago Tribune, Richman revealed his secret for unlocking the questionable ability to monologue with your mouth full. Realize where you articulate, he advised. If I hold all my food in the right cheek, I can still talk. This is the legend spoken of at the beginning of the Minish Cap. Hyrule Historia revealed that the Golden Light is the light force, a source of power that originally resided in all things. I can essentially recite the Declaration of Independence, as long as I keep my food here. If I move it to my left side, I'm absolutely shot. So, keep an eye on that right cheek during your next Man v. Food marathon. The Minish Cap begins with the festival that Hylians celebrate every year in honor of the Picori. You never know what secrets it might be hiding. Adam Richman struggled with body image issues because of Man v. Legend states that a door to their world will open once every 100 years. The Picori may have been based on the Korapokuru beings from the folklore of the Ainu, an East Asian group indigenous to Japan. Consuming wild amounts of food for a living could take a toll on your mental well-being, especially if your job also entails being constantly in front of the camera. As Adam Richman told The Mirror, for him this meant that he eventually became ashamed of the extra pounds that his Man v. Food gig was piling on him. The Korapokuru were helpful, but didn't like to be seen, often trading goods with the Ainu during the night. I didn't like how I looked. It was making me depressed, the host revealed. Per The Guardian, Richman has had a history of body image issues, and as he discussed further in Men's Health, he was getting depressed over his looks. To give you a rough idea of exactly what he saw in the mirror, Richman reportedly compared his physique to a small car during a People interview via Yahoo News. Things got so bad that at one point, he even tried to meddle with camera angles in an effort to cover the way he looked. Though a member of the crew promptly told him that it's probably not the best idea for a TV show host to only show the side of his face, he told The Mirror. Adam Richman packed on the pounds during Man v. Food, and lost them fast if you didn't keep tabs on Adam Richman after his tenure on Man v.
In the Minish Cap, the Picori only show themselves to children. Fairies are popular figures in a variety of mythological tales from different cultures. Food, you might be surprised to find out that he became a considerably more streamlined presence. These beings date back to the Middle Ages and Greek, Celtic, French, and other European cultures include them in their folklore. According to an article Richmond co-wrote for Men's Health in 2013, that his reputation revolved around his capacity and willingness to eat vast amounts of unhealthy food ultimately lost out to wanting to feel healthy again. As such, Richmond decided to make some dietary sacrifices so he could shed the excess weight he gained from the TV show. Throughout various stories, fairies could be mischievous, but they also like to help humans. The fairies in Zelda are the helpful kind. In many games, normal fairies can be used to restore Link's health, even bringing him back from the brink of death. After meeting with health professionals, Richmond started a healthy diet that dramatically cut back his calorie intake. This and exercise helped him shed a whopping 70 pounds in only 10 months. Richmond started noticing his extra Man-V, food-induced pounds during the making of 2013's Adam Richman's Fandemonium, and his look was only one of the things that indicated he'd become rather sturdier. Airplane seats felt cramped, I was wearing an XXL jacket, and I had less energy, Richmond said, describing the situation at its, well, heaviest. Richmond has also said that he attributes his weight gain to the fact that his meticulous health preparations for Man-V. In classic mythological stories, fairies can take on a number of appearances. Food challenges failed to account for the rest of the food he was munching on during his long and arduous shooting days. Adam Richman's attempt to shed his Man-V food pounds led to social media disaster per a study in the International Encyclopedia of Gender, Media, and Communication. Thinspiration is a term that can be used as social media shorthand for people who share dieting and weight loss tips and images, and such information could affect those who suffer from eating disorders. You wouldn't expect such unfortunate connotations to have anything to do with Adam Richman, the man with the famous appetite. But the great fairies of Zelda seem to take inspiration from the ageless and sometimes winged women commonly shown. Link usually has to go out of his way to find a great fairy, which might derive from the fact that classic fairies often hid in forests or underground. However, Thinspiration entered the former Man-V food host's Instagram lexicon in the summer of 2014, but not without some backlash. But the search is always worth it. Some great fairies, like those in Ocarina of Time, will give Link helpful items while also supplying some of the weirdest moments throughout the series. Others will increase his strength in different ways, like in Breath of the Wild. As a result of criticism for using the term in an Instagram post, which some commenters said promoted thinness in a possibly harmful way, Richmond responded by brutally insulting commenters who called him out for using the hashtag. Richmond's comments received plenty of publicity at the time and don't really need repeating. Most damningly, he wished bodily harm on one Instagram user in an extremely nasty manner, and The Washington Post points out that even factoring in the inevitable apology, the incident could very well have imploded his career. Still, despite these temporary speed bumps, he was soon back on air. One Man-V, some games even feature a fairy queen, an element inspired by British and Irish folklore. The windfish. While Lavias is the first chronological whale-like spirit to appear in Zelda, it wasn't the first players had encountered. The windfish is a deity seen only in Link's Awakening and is separate from the majority of Zelda lore. Food challenge almost killed Adam Richman. Man-V food gave Adam Richman many life-changing experiences, but he probably could have skipped the time a restaurant possibly endangered his health. The food challenge that almost killed Richman happened during the show's Season 2 trip to Sarasota, Florida, when Richman visited the Munchies 420 Cafe to tackle their Fire in Your Hole challenge of downing 10 super hot wings. Richman only managed 2. I had to decide. The game follows Link not in Hyrule, but after he's shipwrecked on Kahalan Island and must find a way off. As it turns out, the entire island and its residents are creations of the windfish as it dreams. Carry on and die, or end the challenge by sipping the only relief in sight, he said during the episode's narration. Richman chose milk, and the rest of the episode details his deep, seemingly never-ending suffering. While waking the windfish would allow Link to get off the island, it would also cause its dream, and therefore its creations, to end. While there is a whale figure in Japanese mythology, the windfish doesn't have much in common with it, other than the fact that it's a whale. Known as the Bakekajira, this vengeful skeleton whale was said to appear on rainy nights near fishing villages and bring curses with it. The windfish has more in common with Azathoth from Lovecraftian mythos. This god bears the features of various sea creatures, including whales. On First We Feast Hot Ones, he revealed the restaurant had actually cheated by spiking the wings with an entire bottle of dangerous ghost pepper extract. It's that it's cavalier and very dangerous, he said. They weaponize ghost chili extract in police grenades in India. Even years later, he remembered the terrifying experience. On Eat with Mikey in 2018, Richman described the "fire in your hole" challenge as a full-on death scare, though he did note that a crowd member grabbed one of the wings and, weirdly, ate it without issue. Still, for Richman himself, the experience was excruciating. "I remember thinking I'm going to check out," he said. What happens is your nose swells, your mucus passages swell in your nose, and your throat swells. More importantly, all of reality is its dream and will disappear once Azathoth awakens. The four giants in the land of Termina from Majora's Mask, the citizens have their own deities to venerate. So it was like, I can't breathe, my tears burn. Adam Richman had to learn to deal with hate for his man V. This strange land is protected by four giants, guardian spirits that reside in one of four areas that surround the central clock town. Food stunts. Adam Richman got to eat all sorts of wonders on Man V. Every year at the Carnival of Time, the townspeople hold a celebration in honor of the giants. They pray to them for a bountiful harvest and wear masks resembling them. It's believed that couples who marry during the festival and dedicate a mask to their union receive good luck. Masks have been used in numerous cultures around the world for a variety of reasons. Food, but he also had to swallow the bitter pill of drawing criticism, which has included the ire of other famous food personalities. In Majora's Mask, the townspeople use them as a form of celebration. One other such usage, which is seen in Japanese culture, is as representation of certain spirits. Some masks Link collects, such as the Keaton mask, symbolize an actual spirit in the Zelda world. Others, like the Zora mask, contain the spirit of a warrior that Link can transform into. Majora and fierce deity the giants are far from the only deities in Termina. As the Happy Mask salesman tells Link, Majora's Mask is an ancient artifact that was used by a certain tribe in their hexing rituals. Fearing its power, the tribe sealed it away. In 2010, he got a crash course on dealing with hate when celebrity chef and food show presenter Alton Brown said some pretty nasty things about his work in an interview with Zap2 at Via Eater. That show is about gluttony, and gluttony is wrong, Brown said. These people eventually died out, though the mask remained for the Happy Mask salesman to find. Only, it isn't simply a mask, it's revealed to be a sentient being, and a malicious one at that. Link is able to gain the fierce deity's mask, which bestows god-like power on him when he wears it, in the game's final dungeon. It's wasteful. Think about people that are starving to death and think about that show. I think it's an embarrassment. Another famous chef with bad things to say about Richman was the late, great and notoriously acidic Anthony Bourdain. While not much is known about this deity, it, along with Majora's Mask, tie into the rest of the game's lore with spirits being trapped in masks. Additionally, there is one other powerful deity mentioned in Majora's Mask, though she is never seen. Per the Los Angeles Times, he had a theory about the Man V. Zelda speaks of a goddess of time in a flashback, saying she will protect Link. Food host and why his food challenges were so enticing, admit it. You wanted him to die. Then again, Bourdain also famously had it out for Guy Fieri, so maybe he just didn't like casual road trip culinary show hosts, period. Despite Bourdain's comments, Richman later told The Observer that he and Bourdain were good friends. Link's fairy companion Tattle and several citizens also mention her. There has been some speculation that the goddess of time is Hylia, given the time travel aspects of Skyward Sword, but it remains unclear. The Twilight Realm and the Four Spirits. At some point in the long history of Hyrule, powerful beings known as interlopers arrived in Hyrule to find the sacred realm and rule over it using their dark magic.
But the goddesses, in one of the few times they played an active role in Hyrule, sent 3 light spirits to seal away these foes. These interlopers were banished to the Twilight Realm through the use of the Mirror of Twilight and eventually became the creatures known as the Twilight. The 3 spirits of light were named Eldin, Farron, and Lanayru, the same names as the dragons in Skyward Sword. These spirits stayed behind to protect their respective regions of Hyrule, though none of them take on the form of a dragon in this instance. There is one other light spirit in Twilight Princess, Ordona, who resides over the Ordona province and Link's home. However, Brown's attack seems to have really stung Richman. Alton Brown, Richman wrote on Twitter, MVF is about indulgence, not gluttony, and has brought loads of biz to mom and pop places. You were my hero, sir. It's safe to assume that this spirit was also sent by the goddesses. No more, he lamented, complete with the #damn shame. Anthony Bourdain had some choice words for Man V. However, it may not have played a role in banishing the interlopers because Ordona is not, strictly speaking, a part of Hyrule. The sinking of Hyrule following Link's triumph over Ganon in Ocarina of Time, Hyrule knew peace. But as he always does, Ganon eventually returned to cause chaos. Only in this era, there was no hero to stop him. Food's global image Man v. Food and its original host are well known in the US, but, as one famous chef once indicated, Adam Richman may also have fans in some pretty surprising places. According to the Los Angeles Times, Anthony Bourdain stated in 2015 that people in Middle Eastern countries like Libya, Iran, and Yemen and Afghanistan enjoy Man v. Prayers of the citizens for the return of the hero brought no results. So instead, King Dafne's Nohansen Hyrule left the fate of his kingdom in the hands of the goddesses. Their solution was to flood the land, sealing Ganon away again as Hylians ascended to mountain tops that would one day be islands. Food, though not necessarily in the way it's meant to be enjoyed. The show confirms their worst suspicions, that Americans are fat, lazy, slothful, and wasteful, Bourdain claimed. He also conjured an image of an Afghan watching Richman's battles with giant platters of food. I know what he's thinking, America is a terrible place. This is the story told at the beginning of The Wind Waker, a game in which Link's adventures in Ocarina of Time are passed down as legend. Floods feature in religious tales throughout multiple cultures, the most well-known is perhaps the Christian gods' flooding of the land and the story of Noah's Ark. In Greek myths, Prometheus' son Deucalion built an ark when Zeus attempted to destroy humanity with a flood. No matter the culture, these divine floods are usually stories of beginning the world anew with suitable survivors left to rebuild. The three guardians, in addition to flooding Hyrule, the Golden Goddesses, set measures for a certain hero to defeat Ganon should he return. I want to join ISIS. Ouch. Of course, it's probably worth noting that this particular story does come from Bourdain, a man who was somewhat well known for slinging sharp insults at other food folks. And considering Rachman and Bourdain remained friends after the fact, the statement should probably be taken with a pinch of salt. There's also the possibility Bourdain was jokingly exaggerating Richman's Middle Eastern influence in order to make a point about Western gluttony. Then again, who knows? Maybe the well-traveled parts unknown host was simply fed up with the way people kept asking if he knew Richman whenever his journeys took him to that corner of the world. They each left behind a pearl that could be used as keys to raise the Tower of the Gods, a structure hiding an entrance to the sunken Hyrule Castle. The Tower of the Gods stands as one of many examples in which Link has been tested by the gods. Each pearl was left with a guardian spirit. Din's was given to Valoo, a dragon who lives amongst the bird-like Rito tribe. Farore's was given to the Deku tree, who lives with the Kokiri. And Nehru's was given to Jabun, a water spirit in the form of a giant fish. As detailed in Hyrule Historia, these spirits are respective descendants of Volvagia, the Deku tree, and Lord Jabu Jabu from Ocarina of Time. The Great Deku Tree has appeared in several titles and is a benevolent spirit, as is Lord Jabu Jabu. Volvagia, on the other hand, was famously an evil dragon revived by Ganondorf to rule over Death Mountain. Cyclos and Zephos. Cyclos and Zephos are two frog deities only seen in The Wind Waker. These brothers are wind gods seemingly worshipped by the Rito, as there are monuments to them on Dragon Roost Island. Zeph's monument holds Wind's Requiem, a song that allows Link to control the direction of the winds. Unfortunately, Cyclo's monument is broken, which is why he spends his time at sea creating cyclones to mess with seafarers. But upon defeating Cyclos, Link can learn the Ballad of Gales. This song lets him call cyclones to transport him to various spots on the map. While these frog deities are only seen in The Wind Waker, frogs are important figures in folklore. They are often thought to bring good luck, such as in ancient Greek or Egyptian philosophies that view them as signs of fertility and life. In Japanese, the word for frog, keiru, also means return. It is viewed as bringing good luck in things returning. Malladus and New Hyrule. At the end of The Wind Waker, Link and Zelda set out to explore the rest of the sea. And following the events of Phantom Hourglass, they were successful in finding new land. Spirit Tracks is set 100 years later, after a new continent has been discovered and New Hyrule has been founded. However, this continent was once home to a great evil. Malladus, a demon king, once waged war here against deities known as the Spirits of Good. Following much bloodshed, the spirits sealed Malladus underground. They constructed the Tower of Spirits in the center of the continent as a lock on Maladus prison and railroad tracks that acted as shackles, leading to 4 temples in the corners of the land. These structures worked in tandem, magically keeping Maladus imprisoned. It's unclear whether Maladus is tied to Demise's curse upon Link and Zelda. His title of Demon King suggests so, but the fact that he first appeared in an era and place with no Link or Zelda suggests otherwise. Regardless, Maladus was yet another evil entity who escaped his prison that Link and Zelda had to defeat. Malenia and Satori Breath of the Wild sees the return of several powerful deities of Zelda lore. The Great Deku Tree once again lives among the Kokiri. And 3 mighty dragons can be found, seemingly named for the 3 golden goddesses, Dinral, Farash, and Nadra. But there are also a few deities who are new to the mythos. First, there is Satori, the Lord of the Mountain. This glowing, deer-like spirit resides on Satori Mountain, but only appears at certain times. It acts as the protector of all animals who live in the forest and is said to be a reincarnated sage who once lived on the mountain. Malenia is a horse god that can be found in a fountain and brings Link's deceased horse companions back to life for a fee. The names of surrounding areas on the map, such the horse god Bridge, imply he was once a powerful force. But when Link finds him, it seems he has all but been forgotten by the citizens of Hyrule. It's also interesting to note that he appears to be a great fairy, possibly making him the only male great fairy in the series.